Okay, call the meeting to order. Municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa would like to acknowledge and recognize that we're operating on Treaty 1 and Treaty 2 lands, being the original territory of the Anishinaabe and the Dakota Nations and the homeland of the Métis Nation. First item is the adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda for the August 2024 meeting be accepted as presented. I move that. Director seconder, Councillor Hatch. All in favor?
Favor.
Councillor. Thank you. Be resolved that the minutes of July 16, 2024 regular meeting of council be hereby approved as circulated. Councilor McConnell, seconder. Councilor McGregor. Any errors or omissions? Call to question. All in favor?
Favor.
Be resolved that the minutes of July 30th, 2024 special meeting of council be hereby approved as circulated. With that, Councilor Hatch, seconder. Donald. Discussion, any errors or omissions? All in favor?
In favor.
Under finance, general accounts, be it resolved that the August 13, 2024 general accounts payable being checks number 7442 to 7491 and one man in the amount of $218,191.46 be hereby approved. Somebody move that. Donald, seconder, Councilor McGregor. Discussion? Favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that direct deposit 321 being staff payroll for the period July 8th, July to July 19th, 2024 in the amount of $19,353.41 be hereby approved. Move that. Councilor Hatch, second. Councilor McDonald. Discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Good. Resolved that direct deposit 322 being staff payroll for the period July 22nd to August 2nd, 2024 in the amount of $20,693.32 be hereby approved. Moved by Councilor McGregor, seconder. Discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that direct deposit 323 for vacation payout in the amount of $2,213.98 be hereby approved.
No.
Seconder. Councilor McGregor. Discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that direct deposit 324 for a statutory day payout in the amount of $122.94 be hereby approved. Councilor McGregor, second. Councilor Hatch. Discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Be resolved that direct deposit 325 being council indemnities for the month of July 2024 in the amount of $6,533.83 be hereby approved. Moved by Councilor McDonald, second. Councilor McGregor. Discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Under the utility account, be it resolved that the August 13, 2024 utility accounts payable being checks number 1173 to 1180 in the amount of $17,327.59 be hereby approved. Moved by Councilor Hatch, seconder. Councilor McDonald. Discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that the statement of revenue and expenditures report to July 31st, 2024 be received as presented. Moved by Councilor Hatch, seconder, Councilor McGregor. Discussion? Councilor McGregor.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if, I think this has been looked into before. Again, continue to struggle with the way the budget gets presented in Municipal. I really like to see an option where it presents the budget. Comparing our actuals in June to the full term budget it's hard to see whether we're but so differences are as far as expenses that aren't spread evenly throughout the year. So I guess I think it hasn't been inquired into once we it's struggled to keep that and do it.
And now is an excellent time to be raising the question because we're doing some training through Munisofts.
Yeah.
Go with that.
Noted it.
Any further questions? All in favor?
In favor?
Be resolved that the bank reconciliations for the month of July 2024 be approved as previously circulated. Councilor Bell, second Councilor Hatch. Discussion? All in favor?
In favor?
Okay.
We do. Mr. Fordyce, would you like to come up and present the audited financial statements?
Good morning. Does everybody have a copy or a copy or something? I'll just kind of reference the page along and there we are, so we can follow it through. I guess first and foremost, just to start, stick to page 4. So page 4 is the audit report, so the opinion from census on the audited financial statements. So part of it is the same as it's been in the past as far as qualifying on the revenues from the Surf River Rec. Again, it's kind of the same as it's been in the past number of years, just because of the way the rec commissions and those type of organizations, earn their user fees and rentals and stuff, paid, cash and those kind of things. So there's really no way to, other than what's been recorded in the book, to say that's what's supposed to be there. That's just because of the type of the revenue received. So that one's kind of the same as it's been the last number of years. The other qualification in the audit report is due to a change in accounting standards this year from previous years. Not sure where you guys are at on that as far as knowing what was required for these asset retirement obligations. In the past, they used to focus on landfills. This change in accounting standards now focuses on landfills, which don't act in landfill, but they now focus on buildings that have asbestos in it, lagoons, and basically this new accounting standard focuses on figuring out what future costs are going to be in relation to those assets. So for asbestos, obviously, if you have buildings with asbestos, what is going to be your future cost to remediate that down the road at a point in time? You either renovate that building or needs to be replaced or something like that. And then the lagoon is more when it gets decommissioned. So that's the only way to really test those costs is to get someone in that area, whether it's an engineer or contractor, to provide you kind of cost estimates in the future. The whole point of that accounting standard is you can spread the cost out. So if it's expected you're going to need to do that stuff in 20 years, it allows you to be able to try and spread the cost on the accounting records out over 20 years so that you're kind of building for that cost instead of stuck with it once it happens. Kind of thing like you will have to pay for it obviously once it happens. At least you have kind of an estimate of what it's gonna cost you in the future, so you can, in essence, save on borrow through your reserves or through this other liability. So,
Are you okay with questions as you go here?
yeah, shoot as we go for sure.
So I just am not fully understanding what we've been set up over time. Any idea?
So the way these asset retirement obligations would work, is they say it's actually an added cost to the asset. So when it's originally set up, it's debit to the asset, right, to this future liability. The asset comes down in value over time, and the liability goes up to be kind of set up there already. So you're almost kind of incurring the cost of your to set up a reserve because then you have the money set aside, but the actual expense would be each year as you build the liability. Yeah. So it's kind of like a future kind of thing where you say, okay, if you close it today, it's going to cost you 50 grand. Kind of do a inflationary cost. Okay, but it is going to close it. It's going to cost you 100 grand to close 20 years. You slowly build from that 50 to the. So you're incurring the expense every year, but so you actually put the money aside. So yeah, you would ideally want to have it set aside in reserve of some description to cover it when it actually comes, kind of thing.
So we're gonna be
So-
basically just lagoons and items that are gonna be in there that we're gonna be.
Yeah, so that's what the standards are focused on is lagoons and then these building asbestos and then also landfills. But I think it's transfer station. So, I mean, if there's ever any cost anticipated down the road to actually decommission the landfill, then that would be the same, fall under the same kind of accounting standard. So it's all, the whole, I guess, idea behind it is to be able to plan for the cost in the future, to not get stung with the cost, at the end and not have the money either set aside or planned for. Which we have seen in some other municipalities that they, some municipalities have a significant number of landfills and they've had to close them. Everything, nothing's cheap anymore, so it's kind of caught them off guard doing the first one kind of thing. And then once they've done one, they get just kind of, okay. So
if we were expensing it, then we'd have to like that.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like if it's being expensed each year, you've got to cover it each year. That's where I don't expect this would be huge cost if it's over a number of years per year kind of thing. So make a huge impact on what you're taxing for, but till estimates or received, it's hard to say how much it would be on an annual basis.
And then we do. I'm busy.
Councilor Fisher, please limit your conversation or things.
Sorry.
So sorry, we have a waste transfer station reserve account right now. That was a recommendation.
Yeah.
Would that also play into this? Like, should we be? Because right now we're putting $1,000 a year. Not based on really any.
I think it was based at the time that this came out as to just on a waste transfer station, if you are decommissioning, it's not the same expense as it is if it's a landfill. And so I think there was an estimate of, $30,000. We thought we've got it for X number of years. $1,000 a year is probably sufficient to decommission.
So, and that's, I guess kind of even before these new accounts, there's a lot of people took, they would kind of come up with their own internal estimate. What they kind of thought these new accounting standards are more like, you need to get people that are, know that area to better estimate the cost. This some administrators, well, it's gonna cost this much to cover up the grass and this much to cover with dirt, put grass down, put trees down. So yeah, but what about all the environmental regulations? That's where the money comes in. That's the expensive part. So it's following all those rules.
With the waste transportation, we're limited as far as environmental because we're not allowed to put that kind of stuff. I think.
Yeah.
There's there.
For sure. It's just, in any of those situations, whether the asbestos, the lagoon, the landfill, just making sure that those environmental regulations are met. That's usually where the costs tend to. So I mean, this isn't specific to you, like the province came out with this information on asset applications in the fall. Years and didn't really allow any councils to consider, to probably digest the information first and foremost, and then, choose how they're going to act. To look at that, or whether they're okay with the qualification in here. This qualification would stay until such a time either assessments have been done and you don't have buildings with asbestos, for example. We know you have a little, so there'd have to be something done there before this could ever come out of the audit report. And basically what it's saying in the audit report is just these assessments haven't been done, so we can't state, how much of a liability could potentially be missing just because of the assessment hasn't been done. So, to my recollection, the province will usually follow up when you have qualifications in your audit reports as to your plan. I've never seen that affect any funding or anything like that to date. So, know if that would change anything. It's agents in there. Or as I know, no, but other than that, in the audit report, those are kind of the two things. And like I said, the be different than previous years. They're just organization, and the other application is just because those standards just came in for 2023 year end. So, kind of all new and learning curve for, you know, so. From there, we'll skip ahead to page 6. Page 6 is the balance sheets of all your assets and liabilities on here. So just kind of go through a few of the bigger changes year over year from 22 to 23 and do where the financial position is in relation to the previous year. So the biggest thing is you guys have cash. 1.5 million to 2.1 million. All these figures we're talking about also include your share of the Search River Rec and the handyman as well. So this is just the municipality and their share of those two organizations. So, but the big increase in cash is just there was a lot more. Like there's more allocated into reserves. Reserves increased by over 420,000 from 22 to 23. So that's where a big chunk of this cash is. It's been set aside into reserves. So, accounts receivables were up about 50 grand, but there's a lot of different things year over year. So there was sort of DFA, like just less DFA outstanding at the end of the year. Gas tax and municipal capacity building fund. 2022, you had a community capacity fund grant. Different amounts of money to go back and forth. Service River Rec with the projects going there. So those are pretty significant amounts going back and forth just between the two there. So some of the reasons why the receivables changed there, your regular taxes and those types of receivables, those didn't fluctuate too much. Halfway down the page, you can see your long-term debt, just under 1.2 million in 2022, so down to just under 3. So down as annual payments are made, future debt taken on. But the most important long-term financial planning number on this page is halfway down to the net financial assets number. So at the end of this year was 1.3 million versus about 600,000 last year. What that number represents is your liquid assets available for future projects and future resources. So the fact that that number is larger than the previous year shows that the municipality is in a stronger financial position at the end of 23 than it was at the end of 2022. So obviously, again, that's having the more money set aside in reserves, your debt coming down, those types of things all stronger financial position at the end of 23 than the previous year. To the next page. Next page is the revenues expenses. Yeah. Those other two organizations as well. So again, just kind of run over some of the different change significantly year over year. So the first one was the user fees. User fees is a twofold that has to do with the money received back and forth for the Service River projects, but also just the revenue of the Service River being up as well. So in that fairly standard for another year away from COVID, everybody's, I think, back to normal now. Pre-COVID, operations and the rest. The reason for the increases there. Another one was pretty standard across the board for all municipalities. Your interest income doubled because interest rates went. The banks, the other revenue was a big one that dropped this year. It was 304,000 in 2022. It's only 97,000 in 2023. The big amount in 2022 was because you guys had the greater insurance claim. So it's like $80,000 of insurance money that was reported in other 22, and so they didn't have that in 23. That also resulted in the expense side. If you look halfway down, the vacation services were shy of 1.5 million in expenses in 2022. They were just over 900,000 in 2023. So that was a result of obviously that greater repair being expensive, but also the DFA stuff would have been in there in 2022 as well. So the big drop in expenses in that transportation services. Just to finish off on the revenue side, the provincial grant funding decreased just due to different You have that. You'd be right. Community revitalization grant the previous year, not in 2023. And then your other grant funding. Again, a result of the transactions relating to the service river. And the projects going on there for the rates that we didn't get. So. The only other ones on the expense side that were agriculture expenses were down a bit. Nothing really particular, but just some costs related to the source river, right? They're capitalizing on the expenses that they're doing repairs, so some of that is just down for them. And then the utility expenses were down 80,000 previous year, in 2022. I think there's more issues than in 2023.
Can we go back to?
Yep.
The budget shows 426, the expenses show it. And I can't remember, does the Source River Rec budget get incorporated into those budget numbers?
Yes, it does. Reason it's probably it's been same with your fee side is that now it's going back and forth between you got the municipality are showing as grants and like grants on your side, income on their side. I don't think it's shown that way in your budget. So the numbers are higher actuals versus your budget is those are factored in as far as the transfers kind of between the two organizations. But yes, on page 38, the budget reconciliation from the original municipal financial plan, adding in different expenses as far as for PSAP adjustments as far as amortization expense and things like that that you don't budget for. And then the second last column there is the consolidated entities that's where your share accounting budgeted figures that show up. Statement of operations here.
So sorry, I'm just struggling a bit to understand why there would still be 300,000. Is it some of the work on the projects that wasn't budgeted for the year? Like you're showing us expenses, maybe?
No, it's just when the municipality is receiving the money in our other donations, it's showing us the income there. It's just transferred across. So that transfer across is being shown as an expense on the municipal side. It's just being budgeted income. The other the municipality.
Okay, so it's basically donations.
Yeah, it's just kind of that because you guys are probably collecting most of them and then they're just kind of getting forward to them to do the projects. So
Okay,
just because the municipality is acting.
Page 28 defines it a little better. Because I think take that 438 out, you're going to be closer to what our.
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. We just had concerns from way overspending. So,
Not the case, no, it's just because of the way we have to do it to get some of the funding and the donation. Obviously, we want the donations made to the municipality so you can issue the donation receipts for them. So apply for the grant. The decision can't itself. So, yeah, it's just because they're acting as kind of the whole through for getting the work done out to the end result of the right commission. There, we can skip ahead a bunch of pages to page 17. So again, this is just a more detailed note of the cash. First paragraph there, it just shows how much was set aside in reserve. So at the end of 2023, there was 1.2 million set aside in reserve versus 800,000 at the end of 2022. It's kind of same. Why there's where there's more cash is it's really been set aside in reserves for future issues. We're to page 18 and the top of page 19. Note 8 is the long-term debt note. Just kind of shows there the balance to each of your loans at the end of the year. Kind of got paid off during the year. And then top of page 19 there shows what's going to get paid off in the next 5 years. 70% of the loans you have currently paid off. So pending any future loans and financing kind of thing. Go to page 24 from there. Page 24 just is the capital asset schedule. The top half of it kind of just shows your addition and disposals. You know, some of the additions were mostly the public workshop, the Kubota tractor, Kenworth truck. See under the road, streets and bridges, there's some paving and then a road reconstruction. Road. Just kind of shows that by each of these different categories of assets, the total value into the assets that are required to run and operate the municipality. Next number of pages are just a number of different breakdowns of the revenues and expenses, and I think we really need to go into them. I thought about the changes. And go ahead to page 31. One here just again breaks down the revenues and expenses, but the core government first two columns of this are the municipalities numbers. The second two columns that are blank are controlled entities. Controlled entities would be if you had any organizations you controlled 100% of. And then the government partnerships are the ones that you share with other municipalities. So that's where the rec and the handyman figures are shown, just because you share ownership in them with. Next two pages after that, pages 32 and 33, reserves. So again, like I kind of said before, the bottom of page 33, it'll show bottom right, show about 800,000 at the end of 2022. But these two pages break down each reserve, you know, on an individual basis, showing what is allocated in each of those reserves as at the end of 2022 and 2023. So see where the big changes were year over year there. Head to page 35 now. Page 35 is the balance sheet that is just for the utility. Not really a whole lot to talk. If you look about halfway down the page, there's a net debt number there. Fairly common in utilities where if you've done any recent, usually STIM, it's called a net debt position. What that means is there's more debt than there is assets. Other than like the capital assets against that, because you can't obviously sell your assets if you have in your capital assets to offer the services you need to. So that number is just because you've taken on a large amount of debt to do some projects previous years, but you can see it went from about 830,000 as a net debt to 705. But does show the utilities even 125,000 better financial position in the previous year. A big chunk of that is to paying off long-term debt. Should continue to improve over the next number of years. Go to page 37 and look most of the way down the page. There's a net revenue deficit line there. So Joni was asking me about this before the meeting. She was asking, oh, did the utility deficit this year? So the Public Utility Board uses this Schedule 9, but they also your financial statements to figure out what your public utility deficit or surplus is. So this 10,929 number is your starting point. There's a note earlier in the financial statements on page 22 that we get to add to that amount. So this note that's back on page 22 it's a tracking of the capital grants you've done projects. So if you've done any capital projects, oftentimes you get provincial or federal funding along with those. And those accounting perspective hit the income statement when they're received. But it makes it look like you have a really big surplus the year you do the project because the entire project has been capitalized. But then, so if you did $1 million project, you have $1 million to put in your capital assets, but maybe $500,000 grants, $500,000 will show as income, but you have no expenses. So it shows that you have a $500,000 surplus that year. This note is to even that out. And the public utility board will back out the grant you receive in the year you receive it. And you have a portion of that grant over the time that the water line or the whatever the capital asset is amortized. So that's what this schedule on page 22 does. So the amounts that show on that schedule is amortization during the year. You actually get to add in as income for the public utility board's purposes. So when you do that, you start with the 10,929 deficit, but you get to add in 6,700 in income and then another 50,203 in income. So when you've added those amounts in, the utility actually for the year had a $46,000 surplus. So there's no deficit recovery or deficit issues in the utility. So Joni, I can just leave this for you. Kind of done the right out of how to calculate it. So I can leave these 2 pages for you so you kind of know how I got to that number. I'll have it read it in the future too. From there, we can skip ahead right to the last page of the financial statements. Last page of the financial statements is kind of one of the pages that looks at for the general operating fund. Just kind of talked about how the public utility board looks at their surplus or deficit. This page is the page that they look at for the general fund. This schedule, the bottom line of that schedule is the accounting surplus or deficit. And then all of the adjustments are to work the surplus or deficit back to the surplus or deficit that meets the municipal act, and where reserve transfers are considered revenues and expenses. And so the top line is actually where you want to focus on this in specifically just in the first column for the general. It shows that there's 110,000 positive there. So that means that there was 110,000 surplus of the general operating fund for 2023. The utility column is really just there to make the total columns work. It doesn't mean anything because they look at it, the public utility board looks at the other calculation we just talked about. So obviously there's no concern there either with, certain deficit. They're in a municipal surplus in both the general and utility. So it's kind of it on the financials. And then we did also send them the audit finding that you guys were on to go through those quickly today too. I don't think there was anything
kind of straightforward.
Yeah, there wasn't anything too drastic kind of thing. I think just the one we kind of wanted to point out was on the inventory. The counts were done and everything, but the original count sheets weren't kept. So from an audit perspective, what we like to see is however they do it, the people that are actually doing the count, we like to see the handwritten count. That ties into the listing that's created by the admin staff. Make sure it kind of ties in all the way along. And usually to kind of prove that, we just get whoever's doing the count to sign the sheet. They did the original count on the sign and date and when they did it. Kind of thing. Yeah, and then the other two, like I said, just the indemnity claim, of course, making sure it's A, signed by the person making the claim, B, signed by either management, the CAO, or the person providing the second approval, the checks or the payments to the council. The one, I guess, in regards to the CAO's vacation, that one is really just there because it kind of has to be council because probably no staff is going to feel comfortable signing off on the CAO's vacation. Based on the power structure kind of thing, or the hierarchy. So that's where that one is just recommended that it's, either something we'll sign off on, or it's, annually in the minutes to make sure everybody's in agreement. That one kind of stems from, we've just unfortunately seen it some other places where it's been abused, and it's really pushed back until such a time when staff member leaves and it's a huge payout, and people are kind of concerned that, it's kind of thing. So, and then the last two that are in here are just kind of about those asset protection. So just, if you guys choose to want to try and get rid of those, that qualification in the honor court, this is the recommendation, is to get an engineer or someone knowledgeable in those areas to kind of provide you with estimates. These estimated future it's going to be set up in there. So yeah, so like I said, nothing major in there other than these application ones are pretty. I don't think there's been any municipality. We haven't talked to them about it yet, kind of thing. So just there wasn't enough to plan for it before the end of this year.
It'd be interesting how the government deals with that going.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know where it all came from as far as from an accounting standards perspective. I'm sure there was some government influence. There always usually is. But yeah, we've kind of been all over the place on different about it as to whether they feel that's the best use of their the taxpayers' money to do these assessments, or same way you get engineers involved. It's not cheap, so it's kind of a cost benefit decision for each council is to have to be able to put it forward. And I know a couple councils have mentioned to me they were aiming to bring it up at AMM, and like hard to go all this, where's the do it kind of thing. But we're still gonna do that. From other councils that do that. Just kind of being forced on us with no choice.
Any questions, councillors?
Just one quick note, there was 2 spots where Dave's title was listed from statement of responsibility. He's okay, so that's what he went to. Get those corrected.
Yeah, kind of throw your.
Want to make sure of one thing, I think is to do with the surplus here.
Sorry, where was the section? Right?
The trial balance and the statement of responsibility.
Okay, we will get those changed.
Brett, you're showing a surplus of 110,000 of the budgeted amount. Our budget is in a surplus situation for last year.
Yeah.
That puts us at 928,589 as general operating fund. I think as far as I am aware of, recommendations for municipalities is to have so much into a operating fund. Do you know what that calculation is on that?
No, like there's not really a calculation for what you should have. The only calculation that the province has given, or that there is in legislation, is how much you can take from it on an annual basis. And there's a calculation. It's based on a percentage of your budgeted expenses and what you have in general reserve. And then you can take up to that amount of your accumulated surplus. So what that allows you to do is kind of take out of past surpluses instead of maybe taxing for it again. But
So we can find
that exact calculation on my head.
Yeah, we should find that out so that, there's always that thought that in a situation, we shouldn't be putting some back.
Right, yeah, and that's
Take
definitely
taxation next year.
Yeah, and it's definitely something you can factor into your budgets where, you can bring in revenue as a transfer from accumulated surplus. That's what it's called, and it's just another way to bring in past surpluses in essence into this year. To potentially necessarily reduce taxes, but mitigate increases maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can also, I know I have.
if we can get that, I think that'd be
Calculation
have
as well.
so that we know what, if there is, because we don't really know their surplus until we finish our audit for that year, so.
Right, yeah.
We tried to estimate 1 year and we caught up with it and,
I believe what the conversation was with municipal and northern relations is not to attempt to put anything further into general reserve until we actually know what was left in the surplus. So it would be a case of in 2024, council making a resolution that they wanted to transfer some additional money into the general reserve based on the fact that there was a surplus from 2023. So I think that's kind of where the conversation had gone.
Okay, that's,
They do have a rule of thumb as to how much they would like to see in a general operating, so I can probably find that out.
yeah, so the only, I guess, option to that is whatever you transfer in 2024 is an expense in 2024. So if something happens in 2024 and, say you transfer 50 grand of this $100 in 2024, if you broke even on the rest of your stuff in 2024, you're going to show a 50 grand deficit. And then, which is fine, then the problem's ask you how you're covering it. And then you're going to have to say you're going to pull it from accumulated surplus. Just so you know, that's how it looks.
there's always,
Yeah, back and forth for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
not easy just to say, let's throw this money over here.
Yeah,
It's not that quite that simple.
no, and I mean, at least now, you did have the surplus, you can always, if that you ended up in that situation and say, oh, we took the previous year surplus instead of, estimating it and having taken too much, like, I don't know, wasn't what the surplus ended up being, so now we don't have to pay from, so this way is definitely the safer route to go, kind of thing.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
all right. Me too, just maybe page over to Johnny, and you can have those, that's, and I just kind of wrote down how I calculated that utility board surplus, so you'll have that in the future. Yeah, so from there, you say, Johnny, you did everything that kind of got transparent, if you're happy, it's all signed up. The finals issue for you, and you'll make those changes that you. I'll sit and I'll get myself. Transfer thinking with the surplus.
Okay,
All right.
thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you guys for your time.
So be resolved that the presentation by Brett Forte from Census Partnership Chartered Accounts regarding the 2023 audit and financial statement be received. To do this together. And moved by Councilor McGregor, seconded by Donald. All in favor? Oh,
In
sorry.
favor?
I just wonder if we could ask administration to the issues that were identified, what the response is, if any, and maybe by next or whatever timeframe council determines it's reasonable.
So you won't do.
We'll do it as a separate motion so that we get this done, so the auditors have this and then the administration.
We'll just deal with this added on.
Okay,
Okay, all in favor?
Favor?
Okay, now, or you want?
let's get through the
Okay.
ones that are,
Be it resolved that the audited financial statements be approved and the municipality take full responsibility for the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2023. Moved by Councilor Gregor, second by Councilor Hatch. Discussion? Favor?
In favor?
the next resolution, yeah.
Okay, being resolved that no transfer utility reserve in 2023.
In 2023, that's just acknowledging the fact that there weren't funds in there in 2023. So the auditors want it included in the minutes that it was noted it wasn't.
To move that, Councilor McDonald, seconder. McGregor. Discussion. All in favor?
In favor?
So
If you could read
we
it.
get.
So the two remaining.
Okay, so what I'm saying is be it resolved, that the administration be directed to prepare a report to council outlining the plan to address issues in the finding report of the auditors for the October council meeting.
Commissioner Ligon, okay, seconder. Counselor Hatch. Discussion. All in favor?
In favor?
Right. So we have Luann and Carl Jim. You want to give your line description? You know?
Sure. We live in the east half of 22,817 in the area of Oakland-Wawanesa.
So go ahead.
Thank you.
Over here.
Good morning. I would like to thank Head of Council, Dave Krekowicz, and council members for allowing me to speak with you today. MLA Grant Jackson is joining us on this presentation by way of Teams. I'm not sure if Grant is there. Said he's on? Yeah. Okay, I didn't, may I ask, pardon me before I go there. I did invite Water Rights Officer Rick Pankowski to join us today for this presentation. He declined. He also declined to meet with me in private, and he declined my request to view the licenses and permits draining into 5 Mile Creek. May I ask Head of Council to extend my time for my presentation today? It's about 20 minutes in length, if that's right. Thank you. There you go. Maybe they pause there. Okay. 5 Mile Creek begins in the area northeast and southwest of Round Plate. 5 Mile Creek is a ravine, which is a natural land drainage system for the spring melt. The natural drainage system fills sloughs in lying areas before it reaches our farm. This natural process allows for the spring runoff to flow slowly where it empties into the Assiniboine River. The first spring that feeds the creek is located on the southeast quarter of 230817, which runs along Provincial Road 340. The teal color at the bottom right of the screen indicates Black Creek. The spring melt in 1957 washed out Road 98 West. My grandpa is standing on the shore and my dad is in the boat. Once the spring runoff is finished, the land is turned to the productive farmland. This is the bridge my grandpa and dad built in 1957 to allow the flood water to drain under Road 98 West. It has been maintained over the years and remains in use today. The increased water volume is caused by different factors. The drainage of natural sloughs conducted without permit is one of them. The areas highlighted in yellow have either been eliminated or altered in size. In speaking with the water official, I learned this area is classed as Class 4 wetlands. This is the same picture of the same area. This is the picture of the same area 15 years later. Notice the disappearance of wetlands, the possible creation of a drainage ditch. You can see up there, there's a white line running from the middle of that large slough, going east to a smaller slough and continuing east. There is also a white line from the middle of that dark area. I wish I had a pointer. From the dark area in the middle of the section or quarter on the east, or right, going up and then across. Where this, and it continues into a known ditch on that one that goes from the middle to the east, which empties into 5 Mile Creek. This video shows the land as it is now. Sorry, I don't have anything to go. Oh, my goodness. Just like that. Okay. The slough on the south side, along the west side, and the middle of the northwest quarter appear to be altered. The wetland on the southwest corner of northeast 1818 west no longer exists. The wetlands indicated by yellow in the previous slide have been significantly altered. The eradication and alteration of these wetlands increased the flow of water to 5 Mile Creek. An approved license was issued for the water control works for the northeast quarter. If the tile drainage was completed, it was done privately. The discharge outlet was to be placed into the drain into the municipal ditch. The tiling of this area is not reflected on the licensing portal. Drainage of wetlands impact the natural water filtration, and according to neighbors, this land has been significantly drained. Under normal circumstances, a water rights license will not be issued for the drainage of Class 4 wetlands. Class 4 are semi-permanent wetlands. These wetlands retain water for more than 3 months and hold some water throughout the year under wetter conditions, but go dry in a below average year. Technical issues here. I should have on slide 8. The side-by-side demonstrates the stark contrast of the wetlands that were once prevalent on this section. This video is of a drainage ditch located on Northeast 6817. I was not able to locate a permit on the water licensing portal. There are no lines on the quarter section of the licensing portal to indicate a drainage license has been issued. This ditch joins the drainage ditch on Northwest 5817, which drains into 5 Mile Creek.
You know how deep that ditch is?
I don't know, but when you see the start of that ditch, you can see it's a fairly significant ditch. I don't know the depth of it,
More than 12 inches.
considerably more than 12 inches.
Okay.
I should be on. 10, yes.
To switch that for video.
I don't- So there's, if you recall that previous slide of the possible drainage, I have it highlighted in red with a question mark over top of it. It runs from a slough on the northeast quarter of 1818 onto northwest 6817, shown in red. This is the possible drainage ditch mentioned in previous slides. The waterway is reflected by blue on the water licensing portal, northeast 6817, and the ditch in the video is shown in red, which I'm unable to find a license for. Oh, that's not it. It should be there. There we go. Okay. The photo was taken May 24th, 2024 in the evening. And 19 hours later, these the bush. And 19 hours later, this is the result. Service drainage projects increase the volume of water coming to Five Mile Creek. The spring runoff started this year with its annual appearance, making appearance on March the 16th, 2024. The spring runoff had pretty much dried up, and we reseeded the grass, which had been drowned out last year. A significant rain and snowfall happened, which caused the flooding and the disappearance of the wetlands upstream and ditches now make this a common occurrence. This is a picture taken in 1985 from Google Earth. The upper arrow on the right indicates Don Zakanowich's residence, and the arrow on the lower left indicates Bryce Fisher's, just to give you some concept of where we're referring to. Approximately 2/3 of the water would drain into Black Creek at the bottom of the picture. And the remaining spring runoff would runs north to 5 Mile Creek. The natural creek bed of the Black Creek provides a higher capacity waterway to the Souris River. Great.
You want to just tell me when to change?
Did you want to share?
No. Okay.
Okay, if you change. Thank you. A license for Southeast 9817 West was granted to Oakland Municipality in December 2002 for a drainage ditch. The work was completed by the landowner in 2003. Upon completion of the ditch, the flow of water was to be restored to Black Creek. This part of the project was not completed. There was no follow-up or compliance inspection done, and the municipality remains not in compliance with its own license. Can change. Large culverts on the right barely flow to drain the water to Black Creek. The culverts on the left are approximately 1/2 mile to the west and roar with water flowing to 5 Mile Creek. Since this diversion was completed, we have experienced repeated flooding on our land. I learned that the municipal road into the Treesbank colony has not flooded since this diversion was put in place. Area farmers have stated they don't want this water running on their land. At no time were we consulted about this project, nor did we sign off on this project. I was told by a water rights officer they would not go back and enforce the specifications of this license. think you might be one too far. Should be on 16. No.
The 16th.
Oh,
Was that one maybe?
one more.
No. Moving on. The 16th.
Maybe I saw one get dragged out of the when you were trying to get the.
Which one you want?
The
That's
one-
the next one.
Well, you just got the reverse. That's the one.
There we go.
That's it. A recent license was granted to the landowner for Southeast 9817 to clean the vegetation and silt and return the permit to its legal or original specifications of 36 inches deep. This ditch was dug in September 2023. Under the current water rights regulations, landowners are required to obtain written approval from all landowners whom they have determined may be significantly affected by the proposed water control works. The water rights officers must inspect or assess the site where the water control works are to be located, as well as other lands in the area, and review written approvals of the. If the officer determines that there are additional landowners whose land may be significantly affected by the proposed water control works, the officer must give the applicant a written notice that identifies the landowners. The officer is to indicate to the application that the application will not be approved unless the landowners are given written approval to the proposed water control works. It appears that the landowner and the water rights officer do not believe our farmland is significantly impacted. The water rights officers in Brandon, as well as their supervisors, have knowledge of the water rights issue or the water issues we are experiencing on our land. The ditches in the photos were to be 36 inches deep according to the license. However, they are 12 feet deep. This ditch channels greater volumes of water to 5 Mile Creek. The water rights officer gave the landowner the choice to fill in the ditch or put in 3-foot steps every so many feet to bring the ditch up to 36 inches to slow the level of water. Slow the flow of water. It may slow the flow of water. However, what about the volume of water that's coming down this ditch? The lay of the land does not have a sufficient drainage gradient for gravity tile drainage. Gravity tile drainage or a pump out system are used to discharge the tile drained water. The pump out system comes at a significant higher cost. A nearby landowner has a similar situation. He installed a pump out system which drains into the PR 340 ditch. I learned that the landowner's plan was to install tiling on this section of land with the tile drainage outlets emptying into this ditch. The Water Rights Act states that a person must not make a false or misleading statement in any application for a license or permit within this act or regulations. Tile drainage does have pros and cons. The transfer of salinity, salts, chemicals, etc., make their way downstream, and often pool in low-lying areas. The picture on the left is an area of our field where salinity was not present earlier. The picture on the right is buildup of salinity in the ditch along PR 340 where a tile pump out system exists. We have no issues with tile drainage. Just keep the water on your own land and don't pass your water and land issues downstream so that they become somebody else's problem. Other municipalities require landowners to install tile drainage, who wish to install tile drainage to construct a reservoir to hold water on their land. This could be recycled water and used for irrigation purposes. Next. This map is taken from the water licensing portal. indicated in red where the tile drainage exists. No tile drainage is shown on the north half of 1818. The expansion of tile drainage is real and may affect the waterways and water quality in our future. And you can start the video. This video starts at Damaris's residence at the intersection of Pierre and 453 to Road 98 West, where our farmland is located. The 5 Mile Creek downstream from Road 98 West does need to be cleaned out, and we have never disputed that. We understand that a group of farmers have agreed to clean out the downstream portion of 5 Mile Creek. NextGen has offered their survey services for this project. Each of the contributors would expect drainage rights in return. Their focus is not solving the problem. Their focus is creating an investment for their own future. A maintenance plan was not included in the offer, but rather the suggestion that in 20 years, it wouldn't be our problem. It was 21 years ago, the water was diverted from Black Creek to 5 Mile Creek. Our actions today matter. As corporate farms grow, they consume smaller farms and the number of acres available for drainage grow. It was suggested upwards of 30,000 acres of land could be drained toward 5 Mile Creek. Our intention is to pass this small family farm on to the next generation so that they may continue to enjoy it and raise their families as we have done so since 1931. The clean out of 5 Mile Creek would require consent from downstream landowners and Manitoba Highways, permits from the water licensing, consultation with Central Assiniboine Watershed, and overwatch from the municipality. The downstream landowners, along with us, feel comfortable with some level of government involvement in the clean out of this ditch. In the upper right-hand side, this is our farm taken in about 1980. You can see that that's good. There we go. Okay. That's a different one. It's the same picture. It's on slide 21. Okay, take your time. No, but that's okay. It's fine. Don't panic. That's. Where am I? Yeah. This is the picture of our farm with 5 Mile Creek in the background. That area in red, you can see was productive farmland and is now turning into a slough. The next slide. The next slide is a picture, the same picture from about 1998. We're still showing farmland that has been now has been lost. The next one. This entire area is affected by flooding on our farm. There are some higher spots which drain quickly. We received wetland grass seed from the Central Assiniboine Watershed District, and our plan was to sow grass seed along the small ditch across the field toward the bridge. We wanted to prevent soil erosion and harvest the hay in the area. This would allow for control of vegetation in the area and provide some income. We were not able to complete this project due to flooding. In 2022, 40 acres of oats were sowed in the field northwest of the area that usually floods. The oats were custom sowed with fertilizer at the time the crop was sprayed. It flooded and we achieved 25 bushels an acre. In 2023, this 40 acres was seeded with wetland grass seed that we had received from the Central Assiniboine District. A low quality hay crop was achieved and our hopes were restored. Later in 2023, the lower areas of the hayfield flooded and a large part of the new established hay was lost due to the excessive time water laid on the field. In 2024, the lower areas of the hayfield were custom reseeded this spring with more wetland hay mixture, only to be flooded again in May. Each year, this area of flooding continues to expand. This is July 2024. We believe that working together, we can achieve a solution. We are asking the municipality to explore these suggestions as possible solutions to restore our farmland and to plan for the future. Implement drainage bylaws to manage water drainage within our municipality. Our municipalities require drainage and tiling requests be signed off from those in a specific radius of the project. Since 1993, we have not been approached about a drainage project, either by the province, municipality, or landowners wishing to drain into 5 Mile Creek. I recently spoke with the water rights officer and stated that we cannot take any more water into 5 Mile Creek. Since that time, we have been asked to sign off on projects. However, I've declined. The 12-foot drainage ditch that was completed was done so without our sign-off. Retain water on landowners' own land by way of reservoir. This may be achieved by an enforceable trial drainage bylaw. Restore the water from Black Creek or restore the water flow to Black Creek from 5 Mile Creek. This project was the start of the increased flooding on our land. And in council minutes from the November 2003, there is one sentence about the amount of fill specified in the drainage permit. Request the province to complete compliance check of all block permits and licenses through site inspection for the drainage of 5 Mile Creek. Illegal ditches to be filled in. Restoration of class 3, 4, and 5 wetlands. Municipal ditch cleanouts to allow water to flow instead of backing up in the ditch in the fields. A set number of ditches could be cleaned out annually, not only addressing the immediate need, but also for the future as we experience more significant weather events. The municipality has been supportive about the ongoing water issue. However, now is the time for actions and dollars. We request that the province and the municipality share the cost of the downstream ditch cleanout of 5 Mile Creek. As a community, we need to look forward to draw upon the wisdom of the past for our ever-changing world. We respectfully ask council to look to the future of our municipality when making decisions. We all have a part to play for the benefit of everyone in the Oakland municipality, Oakland-Wawanesa municipality, the province of Manitoba, and our country of Canada. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you for the presentation. And this is a very big concern for you and your family, so it's something that we have to take a look at, do some further research and find out what we can do. Also, any question or?
You had discussions with the property owners, the drainage ditches that have appeared?
Downstream from us, that would be Damaris, Adrianson, and Zimmers.
No, like, I think I'm referring upstream.
Oh, yeah. Yes, several conversations in which the conversation always comes back to wanting to sign off without resolving the issue. And then they come up with an idea that they would band together to clean out the ditch, because that's where their focus is. The water rights officers believe that the only problem exists downstream between Road 98 and 340. However, that water, there is water coming down, flowing down regularly through flooding, which causes the pooling, which causes the bulrushes to grow, which causes the willows to grow, and that cycle. So typically, when it flows down in the spring, that creek dries up until the spring on 23 at Billy Damaris's. There's that big pond by 453. And sometimes that spring, that water level in that pond goes down in very dry years. But there is always water there because of that underground spring that feeds that pond. And there is spring on the other side of the creek. So there should not be any water coming down at Wellspring.
They keep talking about the just ugly.
Ultimately, what I think if I catch what you're getting is that 5 Mile Creek cleanup would eliminate majority of this?
No, it's a part of the problem. There's two parts to this problem. One is the downstream part of the problem. But that problem was caused, and we need to get to the cause of that water diversion from Black Creek to 5 Mile Creek. There is an abundance of water. There are culverts there to drain that water. But those culverts are no longer in use because all of that water is coming down 5 Mile Creek now.
What you clean up,
Yeah, I
the
guess
volume is still there.
when you're showing 5 Mile Creek and to clean up that with the province and municipality.
Right.
I'm not sure that number one has got anything, that we can do much on that because that's provincial regulations involved there and they're responsible for waterways. But if that's not the solution, it's just one, then there has to be a lot more done to that.
That's right.
process.
That's right. We need to fix the problem upstream
That's where that,
and the disappearance of class 4 wetlands, illegal drainage ditches,
yeah,
other drainage ditches, the restoration of the water to go back to Black Creek, where that creek handles it.
Glenn, I'm thinking that you've talked to Next Gen and I'm thinking that if they were willing to clean out that portion on Adrianson's and provide some flow control structures on the illegal stuff they've already done, and not that flow and solve part of this problem.
I'm not sure specifically what you're referring to, because
Well, I
that,
think in the massive ditch upstream,
okay, yeah,
thinking that they need to put in a flow control structure to make that ditch hold more water, slow the flow to times when it can handle it. But then the piece of ditch from your bridge to Corky Street needs to be surveyed and cleaned too at the same time.
that's right, that's right. Anything,
And I do agree, I don't believe you should have to sign off on any of that.
mhm,
It's their water.
mhm.
But there's no tile drainage feeding that big ditch you showed on there, is there?
Which ditch?
So the ditch that was to be vegetated, part of that is all part of a tile drainage project that they would like to have
They'd like to, but I don't think it's been approved though, right?
because we stopped it.
That's right. That's right.
So that ditch would coincide with the one that's already done, right?
Well, that's the question. I know, was it tile drainage was not feeding. the ditch.
It's not feeding only because it's been stopped.
Yeah.
And Sam was just around the other day, asking again to, allow us to sign off to tile that area.
I just want to make sure they didn't go and do something that.
Not yet, but you know what, again, I don't know who polices our municipality, who's out there checking to see what's happening. But I have noticed that there are things happening in our municipality that obviously nobody's been aware of.
yeah. When it comes to water and diversions, everything else like that, they have to get licensing through the province. But we've been struggling with it not just as one municipality, but municipalities around us.
Right.
Number one, they do not inspect. Number two, if they did do anything as far as fines go, they're just small fines. They're nothing that's really punitive as far as making anybody do anything. And we're concerned about all of that. So we've been bringing that up regularly to the provincial government. And I think we'll keep on doing that, but it's, these things move slowly
Mhm.
when you're talking about original regulations, et cetera. So, yeah, it's
I think
something.
one of the concerns is like Sam and his buddies, they can dig the ditch. It's going to maintain it. Get a couple dry years, gets filled up.
So, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done here on this. It's not something there's no silver bullet.
That's right.
My neighbor's foundation is crumbling in, like he has two sump pumps going. Sometimes in the spring.
Three.
To keep it out of the basement. And his foundation is.
I told, I just, so that you know where, I told Sam, I said, Sam, I'm not willing to sign off on any of your permits until pointed to White Creek, goes back to Black Creek. And so I did see Sam and another person driving around looking at resolving the issue upstream. But there's more work to be done, and there certainly needs to be some overwatch of these permits that are being dug. And when people, I don't know whether some awareness be made in the municipality when they see people out digging ditches. I mean, we all put our blinders on and we think, well, that's, of course it would be okay. But as you can see, there is a large ditch that's not okay.
Nobody wants to take responsibility. Spoke to, this.
We may deal with that as we go. Dealing with what we can do, we'll discuss it.
That's okay.
That's it. That's all I have.
Sorry, one more question that is maybe more this table. Do we have any information on this to diversion of Creek to 5 Mile Creek and why it wasn't returned after, if that's what supposed to happen?
I believe I provided all of the information that I could find from the minutes, and it resulted in, I think what you said, kind of one sentence.
About drainage or about backfill or something.
So there isn't a lot that we were able to find within our documents. Luann, I would ask, would I be able to get a copy of your speaking notes? Because you make some requests in there that,
Certainly. I just need to figure out how to do it.
we'll find a way.
Real talk.
But yeah, thank you very much. And we know it's a big concern, but as I said, there's no silver bullet, but we have to all work on that and come up with something that's is common.
Thank you. Laptop doing here.
But there's next Monday, maybe you could just get more comfort.
We'll send that in your tax notes.
Okay, we have resolved that the presentation by Luann and Carl Gibb regarding ongoing drainage issues in the east half of 22-817 WPN be received. Move that, please. Seconder. Councillor Hatch. Discussion? All in favor?
Just, sorry, just when Mike is gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you got.
We should just make note of the time that we're seeing that the accident.
At 13.
Okay, we'll take a 2-minute break. Okay. We move on to communication.
Okay, under the order of communications, we have several from the Association of Manitoba Municipalities. They are dated July the 11th, 19th, the 23rd, the 24th, 2 on July the 30th, August the 2nd, 2 on the 7th, August 8th, and August the 12th. Canada's connectivity strategy provided information on their Get Connected program. EcoWest provided information on a funding bulletin. Enbridge Pipeline and Synergy Land provided information on when they are going to start some preventative maintenance. That was already approved by council last year. Federation of Canadian Municipalities provided 2 communiques. They're dated July the 15th and July the 29th. Hudson Bay Route Association is postponing their annual general meeting. The Manitoba Accessibility Office provided their July 2024 accessibility news. Manitoba Association of Watershed provided information on their conference that will be held December 2nd to the 4th. The Manitoba Ombudsman gave us a change of address for their office. The Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations sent out information on the Inclusive Kind survey. The Rock Lake Planning District provided information on a development plan bylaw amendment, and that had previously been sent out to council. Statistics Canada sent information on the Manitoba August data lens, and we got various thank yous for grants and bursaries.
Okay, be it resolved, the above noted communications be received. Move that. On the secretary, Councilor McGregor. Discussion. There's one that EcoQuest thinks was, and I suggested to administration the possibility that there may be funding for our shop. It may fall into that. We'll check it out. It's worthwhile to check out to determine whether it is applicable to that kind of a structure. If it is, then we can.
That would be the Green and Inclusive Community Building Fund.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
So, Mr. Chairman, I had one comment on that, and I meant to talk to Jones. And there's one more in there. Just that I want to read through that. It's to do, possibly we put on the municipal website. I talked to Joni about them. All the trouble all municipalities are having with the winter and trying to get caught up. Some are still behind. Suggestion put on it, maybe on our municipal website. So you can see that.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's concerns throughout the. Okay. Commission all in favor? So committee reports. Commissioner's report. Mr. Jones, written report. Mr. Hatch, you have a written report, anything to add?
Then we got
Mr. Rowan has a written report. Mr. McDonald, do we have a written report, anything to add to it?
To report, Mr. Chairman, I just was wondering status on our graders, Chelsea, maybe. I could ask.
It's up and running,
Good.
fixed with wiring harness, and the other one is was in Brennan yesterday, should be fixed in a day tomorrow.
Thank you. Good.
Councilor McGregor, we have a written report. Nothing yet. Okay. Report. PAO report, anything to add?
I would just add that our green team, who had been working in the office, is finished with us for this year, but she did manage to get all of the minutes digitized, and she has taken the originals into the archive, and she has started work on the bylaws.
Okay. Public Works, a written report, anything to add to that?
I was just gonna add about the and inclusive community building, you already.
Okay, our chief report is there. Be it resolved that the verbal and written reports to be received. Give that. Seconder. Hatch. Favor. Okay. We're to the bylaw. Be resolved that bylaw number 41-2024, being a lot grading and drainage works bylaw, be read a second time. Move that. All seconder. Discussion. All in favor? Be resolved that bylaw number 41-2024 be read a third and final times. Move that. Seconder, Counselor Hatch. This is a registered vote,
Recorded,
private
yeah.
recorded vote, Bennett. All in favor? General, nothing unfinished business, now it's general business. This is part of that earlier discussion.
It is.
Presentation, do we want to do that? It's a resolution, I guess we could do that, eh?
Well, if there's going to be any direction given to the administration, I believe we need to have a resolution in order to do so.
Wondering if this is too direct.
So part of my report that was prepared with Chelsea is that depending on what the ask was from the presenter, there is the opportunity that council may want us just to do some lobbying with the province. There is money in our existing budget that if there's difficulty within the municipal rights of way, that go ahead and start doing some of the ditch cleaning and mulching where it falls on our property. What council is limited to, unfortunately, is council doesn't have the authority to interfere between relations between property owners. And municipality or any municipality doesn't have the opportunity to direct the province on what to do with their licensing and their enforcement. So lobbying is certainly an option in that regard.
So I'll do the resolution, we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
Be it resolved that the administration be directed to complete ditch clearing / mulching in municipal right of ways within existing budget allocations. Going to move that. Seconder. Gregor, we get into discussion. And I think this is where we're getting into this discussion earlier as to what has to be done to correct all this. And I don't know that it's just strictly a ditch clearing and mulching thing that we're going to solve. I guess I'm thinking that we need to do more rather than to just say, let's just do this. More as far as what has to be done.
I think the ditch clearing is like a 2% of this overall grant.
Yeah, and I sense that too, and as I mentioned it, there's no silver bullet here. I think this is gonna call upon either council or to have a meeting with everybody involved to see what they're doing and why they're doing it. Because this stems back to 2003.
This almost needs mutual engineer involved.
It's
To
rather
do a
than
complete survey.
be paying for it than us, because it's their problem, not ours. I mean, it's everybody's problem. I mean, as far as what has been done, has been done because either the provincial government allowed it, didn't enforce or whatever, something.
Or didn't allow.
Or didn't.
Yeah. Right, so.
And what,
Do we have any, still a little bit stuck on this idea that, like, we approved in 2002 this diversion of water, but we approved it on the basis that it would be diverted.
I would have to pull out see if I can find their license. I don't believe that we had been able to find a copy of that as we went looking. I don't know if with council's direction for the administration to seek assistance from provincial staff, whether they will be a bit more forthcoming with documentation that they have got that we haven't been able to find. I think there was the original 2002 license that had been issued further upstream, but it was the one that when the drainage application came forward now, that council had refused it because what was required in that 2002 license has not been adhered to. And so that was the basis on which council had rejected the current application. And that was drawn to the attention of the property owner that that works had to be done before council would ever consider that again. I'm not sure if that is the same license that was being discussed in the speaker's notes.
Right.
Or whether there's something else.
I think it was an additional one, but
Can you speak up, please?
I think there was an additional one, but what the province is reluctant to give any of this information out. So with community councils.
Well, I just think we have to set up, I mean, from what the presenter gave us, the real problem is in the springtime. Like, this is not something that's of serious concern right now, going into winter. I mean, obviously, there's water there to get rid of it. Yes, if that can be done. That, if that's our minor thing here, that we can do this and get rid of the water that's there and help them, then that's fine. We can look at that, but I'm just thinking that this needs a giant plan to figure out who's responsible for what and what can be done, whereas I'm concerned.
Mr. Chairman, we need
It has to be
to
done by
get the province to sit down with us here and discuss a plan.
I think that's right.
I agree with that, and that we have to get them to take a little bit of responsibility for this. This is way more than what we can overtake on our own.
Can we alleviate anything by doing what is suggested in this resolution? Will that
I
alleviate
believe so.
anything immediately for them? Is this a Band-Aid?
I wouldn't say it's a Band-Aid. We're maintaining our municipal ditches as well, right? So things that should have been done all along, it's still gonna help the situation. I mean, probably, I don't even know if you guys have ever done it. Where if we can alleviate 25 years of erosion in ditches that have never been cleaned out, and instead of 50% running culverts, you know, but again, that it boils back down to the province approving all of these, where now my culverts are blowing out. How long till that bridge blows out?
Yeah.
You know,
I hear you. We have to maintain, there's some asset management up there. Sure.
Yeah, there's money put aside for it.
You would have to give us a specific area of ditch that is an issue. Show the council. We just can't randomly say,
Well, they're the one along their property that has a significant erosion built up on 98 West. Help.
Could we do an amendment to this resolution to say that this is possible with having a report done by Public Works as to exact areas
Mhm.
that this will do that for?
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, I agree, we need to get, like you're saying, get the people together so we know where we're going, but it's an ongoing, gonna be an ongoing down the road. I know by Rothway, it goes into a drain, and it's willows and cattails, and the spring high water years, the water can't get away fast enough, and it's like there, you know, so it's not just digging it out, but it's like they said, it's
Yeah.
5 years from now, again, when the willows grow up, or
and if we take willows out now, 12 months from now, those willows grow right back.
Those are like,
Yeah, there has to be a maintenance plan.
but anyway, that's,
I can see again, if there's a help to this and can alleviate some of the water now, as long as we know what we're doing, we have an account of what we're gonna do. You know, are we gonna need a track hole?
Mhm.
Are we gonna need to rent it? Are we gonna need to, get it off there?
The problem is we have no survey.
and we went and looked at it. Mike and Craig and I went and looked at it when it was high water, so we have an idea of what was going on there, and it needs fixed. You can't do a little bit without doing it all. It's the big thing, right?
Yeah. I think we can afford to do it all.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that what you want is a report back at the September council meeting from the administration related to clearing and mulching municipal rights of way within our budget allocation. And then am I hearing that somebody also wants to put forward a motion that an invitation be extended to provincial staff and elected officials.
What if you just do invitation? No, that's,
How do we force them to meet with us if we don't extend an invitation?
yeah,
So I would, conservation district, all the user groups that may be affected.
Is council wanting affected property owners at that same meeting, or are they wanting an opportunity to meet first with provincial staff and elected officials?
I'd like to see the elected, or the
what are we gonna show them?
provincial people first, I think.
What are we gonna show them? I guess that's my concern is that, like, something that's. Do we contact Waterworks or whatever to say we need an engineer to do some work on this? You guys,
survey.
yeah, to show us what's happening with this area, but we'd have to show them. Like, that drainage has changed. Well, no Creek. And that was never put back. Or it's just what the permits are supposed to be.
Yeah, I would say that if we were going to have a meeting with the province and whoever else, is that probably a copy of that presentation, just so they can visually see what the changes have been. And if we've got speaking notes, so that
Yeah.
we've got that to go along with. And then ask for their suggestions on what the solution would be, whether it's, like you say, a drainage survey. If it's a case of, if there's no permits for this, why is it happening? If there are permits and they're not being adhered to, when do your enforcement officers come out? What actions have been taken?
And what's the solutions?
Exactly.
Like, I know if we don't get a survey, we can go with machinery, we can do whatever. But it's. It'll only be.
You're not sure what you're gonna get accomplished, and you're gonna accomplish. You don't
Right,
really know.
we could be spending money and
That could be the second. And I think that, like you said, Tony, that presentation would be, we could go and do a lot of legwork put into that, I'm sure, and I'm sure we should let us show them.
I mean, you would think that by the end of all this, they would have it.
if it's a beaver dam. I mean, that's blocking the channel, that's one thing. We can clean it, we can get the water. Oh. There's other things like sediment, I mean, we don't know how much we're digging.
We know we'll go down there, it's cattails and those that are slowing it down after, but maybe that ditch is far too deep, it's gotta be filled in some, or something before it gets to it. That's where we got to find out.
Rather invitation could just communicating
Okay.
provincial authorities just to
So then it's
get the.
trying to meet, we're just,
Well, I think we want to meet with, the intention is everybody has on the same page, we can meet to discuss the
okay,
same thing.
so then be it resolved that a meeting be held with.
Well, I think there's conservation and
I mean, I've spoken to them all already, but, and they all have different outlooks on it, right?
well, ultimately you have to get to the right people.
And get the ball started, or. And we went to that presentation at the MM, I don't know if you were there, I was at it. On the province. It's going on lots of places.
Okay, be it resolved that a meeting be held with provincial staff and elected officials to, or related to water studies, licenses, and possible solutions for the area surrounding East 22-817.
So is that replaced, this one, or is that just initial?
That would be an additional one. We have voted on the above one. If you don't want to take any action, like I thought you wanted the report from us regardless.
I do want that.
So then I would do them as two separate motions, because one involves direction to the administration, the other involves direction to and the meeting with the province.
Okay, so we amended this one, first one?
So if you were comfortable with the way that was worded. Be it resolved that administration be directed to provide a report at the September council meeting with respect to ditch clearing and mulching within municipal rights of way within the budget allocation.
That's been amended, so who's first? Who moved it?
Well, it was Councillor McDonald and Councillor McGregor who were the movers and seconders for
Okay with the amended,
Yes.
asking for the report.
all in favor? Carried. Okay, and then the second one,
Be it resolved that a meeting be held with provincial staff and elected officials related to water diversion studies, licenses, and possible solutions for the areas surrounding East 22-817.
you move that, Councilor seconder. All in favor? Okay.
Yep.
So be resolved that subdivision application number 4157-24-8638 as submitted by Michael and Colleen Fiskowski to subdivide part of southeast quarter 21-819 WPN be approved subject to one, a minor variation order being obtained to increase the allowable site area from 10 acres to 10.94 acres within the ag zone. And two, a conditional use order being obtained for the non-farm dwelling in an ag zone. Just move that. That's seconder, Councilor McGregor, discussion. Okay, you have no concerns. Public Works, that's okay. Promise you haven't either. All in favor? Carried. Nothing analysis, so I don't think.
No, I did not receive the resolution that they said that they were going to want put forward.
So Public Interest Disclosure Act. It's been resolved that this matter be tabled pending receipt of further information. That. That's seconder. All in favor? MIT, GI. Well, this is their bypass, their detour for the train. We've got a full resolution there.
I had been waiting for them to confirm which roads it was that they were looking for. I believe their email.
Yeah.
Yes,
That too.
that is correct. There, they did confirm.
the resolution would then be it resolved that the request from the Department of Highways Transportation to utilize roads 108 West and Road 41 North as a temporary detour in September will be CPR.
They're gonna put the road back to what the road used, or no, the roads used back to what they were prior to. That in there.
I think we need to make some additional on there too. I think we need to maintain the road back to our extent. So they won't do it. And we gotta make sure that we put on there that traffic flowing on that is just subject to B1 loading. If they would do that,
If you're gonna have a hard time. They're gonna be using, our tax comes up 10.
Yeah.
They're not gonna turn truck back. Be hard to do that.
they've already turned up.
What happens, if we say no?
Good question.
Well, it's maintenance on the railway on Highway 10, where a lot of our ratepayers are crossing. As well,
See, I don't want to turn them down, but I would like them to have a civil discussion with the municipality between us and the province too.
what if, something blows out in our municipality and we need to use them as a detour?
I think that's the thing.
They know, they're the one that is not coming to the table.
Well, Chelsea, why wouldn't they want to use just before the substation and just go down by Craig Vince and out to two and back? They would,
I'm not sure.
like me, that's
Like a little L there.
well, just before the substation, like it's just before you get to the junction, you could just go down there.
Yeah,
now.
if you go down there, there's a really tight turn and a really steep.
Yeah, yeah.
Tracks.
That's all.
And for semis, you would not be able to do that. And, that's what we.
The only thing I have a hard time with this is they won't let us go half a mile up the hill with gravel, but they want to use the road. Like that's where I'm having a hard time. But
I understand, I guess,
And
I guess we could put that to them, in exchange for detour. Usage of our road, that's really. CAO, what's your thoughts on that?
I guess that comes back to the question, what,
I'm not sure. If it's a safety issue with the track. Not even sure that
You have that,
they have to have it, right? So. I don't know.
yes, they do work with us some, like we're pretty lucky we got a yard here and they do work with us some. So, you know, that work goes both ways.
I would just like them to work to a little more. Like, why are we the ones at the bottom of the stack?
I mean, they have done a couple favors for me, already, right? So.
do it as a separate resolution.
You can do it and be approved subject to, put in your conditions. At some point, I don't know, then if CP Rail will simply come back and say, okay, then A, the crossing doesn't get done. Or B, as they are starting to say within municipal roads, it's on you, which wouldn't be on us, it would be on the province.
It needs done because there's awful holes. You go over it slow.
Well, I mean, if we say no to that and something happens.
Okay,
So,
okay, let's go this route. Let's ask for a meeting with Bob.
well, I don't think that's Bob's area.
No, but
Wouldn't want to put him in a position where he has to make
And it's all,
concessions for the provincial.
it's all scheduling too, because the longer we want to do it, right, and do it at night, so it all takes planning and at your region there. For the railroads planning.
again,
So if council wants to table this, are we prepared to hold a special meeting
No,
at the end of August? To write a resolution or to get the approvals because they want to start before our next council meeting.
what do we put in there is that, subject to consultation with, between province, MTI and municipality on road issues. And then we can have that discussion.
sure.
But we can approve that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can approve it on the basis that
and that's in addition to.
that
Well,
yeah,
that's not valid.
subject to the discussions with us.
what if it wasn't made subject to, but what if it was sit, and it's, you know, we'll grant approval and would request a reconsideration of the permission dated, whatever. So we aren't saying we won't, yeah, but we are reminding them that we have defined something here that we
Yeah.
could really use,
Like,
right?
Cooperation.
Yeah,
Yeah, like that.
and then you don't have to have a.
When I have another meeting, it's for that.
Be approved, and what is your wording there?
Reconsidering.
With that. Reconsider. You should. Or if you're,
But the date was. Yeah, even about that. Leave it.
what was the permit application?
It was B1 loading on that PR.
Loading.
And I don't, you could just say that.
application, 340.
That is a safety issue, no doubt about it. I don't want to stop that.
They're gonna put a one piece in there now, so.
What road was that rating on?
The 340, yeah.
Can you read it out? Not sure what.
Be it resolved that the request from the Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure for use of Road 108 West and Road 41 North as a temporary detour to allow repairs on the CP Railway crossing at PPH number 2 during 2 evenings in September be approved with the request for the province to reconsider the permit application related to the 2024 B1 rating on PR 340.
What reading, sorry, was it?
B1, wasn't it?
Be our tech.
Our tap rate?
Yeah, it should be. I
Like B1 is what we're allowed. Yeah. I
think
just
you want
wanna
to
make
put
sure
on
we
the
have that.
municipalities application.
Yeah, that's,
So they don't mess that up with Ellis. Feeds.
Okay.
I'm going to move that. Here. In favor? Okay, be it resolved that building of approaches policy trans 008 be amended as circulated to include refundable deposits and approvals to correspond with newly adopted drainage bylaw number 41-2024. Move that. Seconder,
Sorry, Bruce Speaker.
Councilor McDonald. Seconder. Mr. Hatch, discussion.
Okay, so refundable deposits, how does this relate again here?
Okay, so the bylaw council just approved for drainage bylaws has them required to give us a refundable deposit. And once their work is determined complete and Public Works has signed off on it, they get their deposit back. If we're going to use the similar approach with respect to the approaches, because it ties in with who's taking the original approach and what action is taken if they don't follow through. Our approach policy needs to include the refundable deposit that would equal the same as what's in the bylaw. And the fact that the original access policy required council approval. The drainage bylaw requires council to be the appeal body. So therefore, the approaches policy should be originally administered by the administration. And if there are any concerns with what administration's direction would be, then they've got the opportunity to come to council as their appeal body. So it just ties the two together.
Did we not have the approach? The $100?
Yeah.
Yes.
Deposits.
So that would be if they don't do the work that we require them to do, we would keep their $1,000 deposit. As long as they do the work the way it is laid out and supposed to be, then that gets returned to them.
Anything else? All in favor? Be it resolved that administration be directed to prepare the necessary special services levy based on the existing formula for council consideration at its September 17th council meeting, whereby the required public notice be given for a public hearing to be held October 15th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the council chamber. Move that. Councilor McDonald, seconder. Councilor McGregor, discussion. Councilor McGregor.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'm okay with it as is. The concern that I have within the village is it feels like we're getting that don't appear to have. And so I'm a little bit wondering if our approach on putting vacant lots at a lower rate makes sense moving forward. It's not actually that great for us, tax base wise. So I don't think I'm proposing changing, but I just calling out a concern that I sort of been increasing over the year.
So you think the changing the rate would push people to develop?
Yeah. Still be developed, yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, that's what we want,
Mhm.
tax-based purposes. Not always possible to.
There is a huge void like in the city of Brennan. Accommodation period. But I don't know if the same could be said here.
Pretty hard to have a hard block here, and that's, I don't know if there's that much call for it. Just like to see these lots sold.
Well, Chairman, just, and I'm not sure, do we know the breakdown from rural users and direct to the village people, like on?
Dollars and cents, wise, you mean?
Like, well, not dollars, says like users, like whether. I know the villages, residents are paying quite a bit more in the rural, I just wondered the breakdown, is it a fair breakdown, or do you think? Or number what?
I don't have any numbers I could tell you reliably today, Bob. Part of the issue for me has always been, are we only measuring that based on usage, or are we looking at historical usage as well? If somebody has raised their family in the area and used the area and used this for years, in my mind, I would still count them as a user. I'd be probably way in the RVs. I think on either measurement, there's a significant use, but I can't tell you reliably.
I just had a question. And it's one.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Like I know there's a number that gets thrown out lots, which I think was based on one moment in time and measuring only based on hockey. So, that's not an accurate measurement. We have to also remember that this special services levy also supports.
Correct.
Through community calls. So to include the usage of those, I think you're getting to. But that being said, the bulk of the
Thank you.
Councilman McGregor, is the, I know a lot of people in the area coming down to use the park or camping. Do they pay an additional fee for the pool to go to swimming?
Yes.
Yeah, and we also have to take a look at the school side of things too. School has, it's, the last number I had was 147 rural students. And during the months that the gym is out of use as far as the school is concerned, whether it be plays or whatever the case may be, they use the recreation facility. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to measure, but something that we came up with 5 years ago that everybody thought they could live with. And it showed that, yes, there's more, I guess, opportunity for recreation to benefit. I don't think there's any for sure way to calculate it. But I think that's pretty good.
Council would like us to prepare it with the per parcel, the reduced per parcel rate in Wawanesa removed. See what those numbers look like.
Sorry, to my memory, the per parcel rate is $50 vacant and 100.
You know what? I have to go and get on.
Sorry,
Could be here.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The cracking chair.
It'd be $50 per parcel charge. No dwelling, $135 parcel charge, all these are properties and a building charge.
So vacant lots are just $50 flat. Occupied or dwelling. 135 lots of it.
So you
And
think
the vacant lot.
No, that's this, the original.
There's an assessment charge on those as well.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
so it's not just $50.
no, but
I believe the assessment is on all rateable.
mill rate charge and all. Those additional to it. Now, is that 135 for personal properties? Would that be reduced? Not sure how that was ever calculated. I think I remember something about it being,
I think it was just an amount that they wanted to be raised per parcel versus how much it's going to be on assessment.
I think we knew how many parcels we had at that time, and that's where the 135 came in. Now we got less parcels, or we have, with dwellings, having less.
No, I don't believe there are any less dwellings because I don't believe we've had any torn down in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
But, well, a couple.
yeah.
Okay.
I know when,
So I don't, like I said, I think I'm okay with leaving it as is. There's a part of me that is considering whether we should be raising that lot proposal to something like $70, which is not that big a change, but
How many lots is there?
won't generate that much, I don't think, but.
Like I said, I'm sorry, I don't have my laptop here. It's over there. I'd have to go back and pull up the file, but I could do that. But if that's what you want us to do, I can just go the
There's
direction
only
today.
10 lots and we're talking,
No, there was more than that.
$50.
I feel like it's or 40 or 50 lots. This wouldn't really be about the revenue.
That we come down and look at. Market space.
And there might be more. Might be more that we think Cindy going, well,
Yeah. I do know people that want to move here and build. There's a lot available, if people want to sell them. You're not being realistic and it creates issues.
What do you guys think about the idea of raising that?
I don't have a problem with it.
You think of doubling it or not that much?
Something to sort of show that council is concerned. We just have hardly anything in our power that we can do about it. Not give it a rate on the station.
I think where the people think that the recreation is very important in the community.
Well, it is. Take a look at any other community that's going to flourish, you're going to have recreation. So if you don't, you your population.
There's a couple of individuals that own the majority of these lots.
Yeah, I get definitely a concentration.
Yeah.
Me too.
22.
You're sweating.
Do you have a problem?
I might live this step. Or
Go on.
You pull.
Kim sends mine at 23 at home. I pump it up, I walk up the stairs.
I need schedule C.
Give yourself time, it'll catch up to you. Actually, days outside, it's just beautiful because it's cool in the mornings. It's pretty muggy and hot. But it's nice in the evening. You don't have-
It appears there are 21 properties with no dwelling unit.
And those numbers would have been updated.
Those were for the 2019. But so
If you alter that, you're gonna have to alter the other.
You don't have to, well, there would be less.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that'd be it. But to do it on the rest on mill rate, the mill rate goes throughout the minute.
So, but there's still a split here between.
I think the split is based on the fact that the village, as well as paying the assessment, also pays the per parcel. The rural does not pay a per parcel.
So it was just, it was supposed to end up at a, yeah. Yeah. I'm fine with it.
Okay,
Is
so
council okay with us doing the public hearing in the council chamber? Or should we be looking at doing a hall just in case it's a bigger turnout? It's an extension of what we've been doing for 5 years. I don't know what the turnout will be.
Personally, I think here.
Have it here.
Here is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're secondary,
I do.
all in favor? Be it resolved that the administration be directed to prepare the necessary 2 special levy based on the existing formula for council consideration at a September 17th council meeting, whereby the required public notice be given for public hearing to be held October 15, 2024, 6:30 p.m. following recreation services public hearing in the council chamber. That is for waste and recycling.
And once we have a mover and a seconder, I need to suggest an amendment.
Hatch, seconder. Okay, discussion, something.
So the concern with waste collection is that we know the province is making changes on what they're going to do with recycling. So part of the discussion when I was speaking with municipal mentors was maybe we it's out into 2 special levies so that if something happens with the recycling side, we could just simply not levy for it. The downside with that is that the recycling is the revenue source, the only revenue source for the rest of the waste transfer. I had an opportunity to speak with Municipal and Northern Relations yesterday to see whether or not they have heard anything as to where the province is at with the recycling. They are saying no. And their best suggestion was continue forward with the way it currently is. So that would only be the 1 special services levy. And once the province knows what they are doing, go back and do an amendment to it.
Sense to me.
Our, do we set that value for the waste? That there's like a 5-year plan.
You got a contract.
So, and we currently, again, our tender, well, we've extended it 2 years because again, we were trying to wait to see what the province is doing with the recycling side. We can retender it with what we expect or start preparing this with what we expect the tenders may come in at, given that it's been a while since we've done them.
Okay.
So it would then be that administration prepare the necessary special services levy based on the existing formula.
All in favor? Be it resolved that this regular meeting now adjourns to an in-camera meeting to discuss matters as per subsection 152 3B5 of the municipal act related to enforcement issues. And all matters discussed in camera are confidential until discussed in an open meeting as per section 83(1)D of the municipal act. Councilor McGregor, Councilor McDonald, second Councilor Hatch, all in favor? In camera.
Okay.
Yes,
Be it
sir.
resolved that this in-camera meeting does now resume back to regular meeting. Moved by Councilor McDonald, secondary Councilor Hatch, all in favor? Okay, be it resolved that the RCMP quarterly policing report for the period April 1 to June 30th, 2024 be received. Move that. Donald, seconder. Mr. McGregor, all in favor? Carried. Resolved that the report for Kelsey related to cybersecurity training be received. Move that. McGregor, second, Councilor Hatch, all in favor? We do.
No.
Yes, we have just adjourned.
Yeah.
Be it resolved that this meeting does now adjourn to meet again on September 17th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the municipal office in Wawanesa. Moved by Councilor Jones, seconder Councilor Hatch. All in favor?